Nikola Jokic was picked while ESPN was literally on a Taco Bell commercial. That is not a myth. Denver took him 41st in 2014, and the screen barely treated it like news. At the time he looked like another overseas big man nobody needed to rush. Then things got stupid. Jokic became a three-time MVP, dragged Denver to its first NBA title, won Finals, MVP, and turned center play into something nobody had really seen before. He was not just scoring. He was passing like a point guard, rebounding like a giant, and controlling games without looking fast. That was the weird part. Nothing about him screamed superstar. No highlight dunk package, no lottery hype, no dramatic draft night camera shot, just a second-round pick during a fast food ad. And somehow that became the greatest draft miss in modern NBA history. Manu Ginobili was almost gone before the NBA even noticed him. San Antonio took him 57th in 1999, the kind of pick teams normally use on a name they might never bring over. But Manu was not a stash. He was a problem. He came from Europe with a left-hand, wild angles, no fear, and the kind of chaos Greg Popovich somehow turned into winning basketball. Then the resume got ridiculous. 4 championships, 6th man of the year, a Hall of Fame career. But the twist is bigger than the Spurs. Manu also won EuroLeague, became an Olympic hero for Argentina, and helped beat Team USA in 2004. That is not normal second-round value. That is global basketball royalty hiding at pick 57. Most players drafted there disappear. Manu changed how the league looked at international guards forever after that. Dennis Rodman once gave championship teams Hall of Fame value while barely scoring. That sounds fake until you watch the tape. Detroit took him 27th in 1986 from a small college background, and he became the weirdest weapon in NBA history. First, he helped power the bad boy Pistons. Then he joined Michael Jordan's Bulls and turned chaos into 3 more rings. The numbers are almost rude. 7 straight rebounding titles, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 5 championships, and during the Bulls run he was often sitting around 5 points per game. 5. But every missed shot became his territory. Every emotional swing felt like his game. He guarded stars, got inside heads, and made possessions feel stolen. A second-round pick became the NBA's greatest reminder that scoring is not the only way to break a game open. Draymond Green did not become a dynasty player because his box score looked pretty. That was never the point. Golden State took him 35th in 2012, and on paper he looked like an undersized forward without a clean NBA position. Then the Warriors discovered the trick. Draymond was not supposed to fit the system. He was the system's brain. He guarded centers, switched onto guards, pushed the break, found shooters, and yelled at everybody until the whole machine moved faster. In 2017, he won Defensive Player of the Year. He also became a 4-time champion, 4-time All-Star, and the emotional switch inside one of the most hated dynasties ever. The funny part, his scoring never explained his impact. Not even close. Pick 35 became the player opponents hated seeing most. Willis Reed did something almost no second-round pick has touched in more than half a century. He won MVP. New York took Reed in the second round in 1964, back when nobody talked about draft steals the way people do now. But Reed quickly turned the Knicks into something serious. He scored, rebounded, defended, and gave New York an identity the franchise still lives off today. Then 1970 happened. Reed won regular season MVP, All-Star Game, MVP, and Finals MVP in the same year. That is not just a good season. That is statue-level stuff. He helped the Knicks win 2 championships and took Finals MVP both times. And here is the twist. Before Nikola Jokic broke the modern scale, Willis Reed had already proved the second round could hide a franchise legend. Isaiah Thomas was the last pick in the entire draft. Not the end of the first round. Not just a late second-rounder. Pick 60, the final name called in 2011, and a few years later he was almost in the MVP race. Boston did not build around a tall, safe, marketable star. They handed the ball to a 5'9" guard and watched him torch the East. In 2016-17, Thomas averaged nearly 29 points, pushed the Celtics to the 1 seed, and became one of the scariest fourth-quarter scorers in the league. Then the story turned. Injury, trade, brutal timing. A peak that looked like it was just opening suddenly became one of the NBA's most debated what-ifs. The last pick did not just become an all-star. For one stretch, he made the league guard him like a superstar. If you like NBA stories like this, subscribe. Now back to the next steal. Jalen Brunson entered the league as the kind of player teams respect but do not fear. Dallas took him 33rd in 2018 after he had already won big at Villanova. Still, NBA teams looked at him and saw backup guard energy. Solid, smart, safe, not a franchise engine. For a while, that seemed fair. He played behind Luka Doncic, picked his spots, and looked like a useful rotation piece. Then the playoffs started changing the conversation. Brunson began controlling games with footwork patience and that annoying left-to-right craft defenders hate. New York gave him the ball, and everything got louder. Suddenly, the backup guard was dropping huge playoff nights in Madison Square Garden and carrying one of the league's loudest markets under brutal pressure. No elite size, no viral athleticism, just balance angles and nerve. Pick 33 became the face of the Knicks, and Dallas had to watch it happen from far away. Marc Gasol was supposed to be the other name in the Pau Gasol trade. That was the whole joke at first. The Lakers got Pau the star. Memphis got his younger brother, a second-round center picked 48th in 2007, and people treated it like background noise. Then Marc turned into the backbone of an entire era. In Memphis, he became the brain of grit and grind. He called coverages, controlled the paint, and made slow basketball feel violent. He won Defensive Player of the Year in 2013, made All-NBA, and pushed the Grizzlies into real playoff relevance. But the story did not stop there. Years later in Toronto, Gasol helped shut down elite offenses on the way to the 2019 championship. That is the twist. He started as the other Gasol in a trade people laughed at. He ended as a champion, a defensive monster, and one of the smartest big men of his entire generation. Gilbert Arenas did not play like a second-round pick. He played like somebody personally insulted by the draft. Golden State took him 31st in 2001, and within a few years, he had become one of the most dangerous scorers in basketball. Then Washington gave him the spotlight. That is when Agent Zero became a full NBA event. Deep threes, wild confidence, game winners, long nights where defenses knew what was coming and still could not stop it. At his peak, Arenas averaged close to 30 points per game and once dropped 60 on the Lakers. That was not cute second-round value. That was superstar-level fear delivered with a smirk. But then the story bent hard. Knee injuries started taking pieces away. Controversy followed. The peak got cut short before it could settle into history properly. Arenas remains one of the strangest second-round stories ever. Too brilliant to ignore. Too chaotic to explain cleanly. Chris Middleton was once the quiet throw-in people barely noticed. Detroit drafted him 39th in 2012, gave him limited minutes, and even sent him to the G League. Then he got moved to Milwaukee in a trade that did not feel historic at all. That was the trick. Middleton became the exact player every superstar needs, but almost never gets. Calm, skilled, unbothered. When Giannis attacked the rim, Middleton punished defenses from the mid-range from three and in late-clock situations where everything got ugly. In 2021, Milwaukee needed somebody to close playoff games. Middleton kept showing up in the most stressful moments. He dropped huge scoring nights, hit cold-blooded shots, and helped deliver the Bucks their first championship in 50 years. That is not a normal second-option story. That is pick 39 becoming the guy a title team trusted when the game slowed down and fear took over. Nobody saw that coming. Not from him. Tony Kukoc came to Chicago with a target on his back. Before the NBA, he was already a European legend, but that did not mean the Bulls' locker room was ready to bow. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen had heard the hype. Then Kukoc had to prove he was not just some international experiment, and he did. Chicago drafted him 29th in 1990, and by the second three-peat, he became the strange luxury weapon most teams could not match. A 6'10" forward who could pass shoot handle and create offense when Jordan or Pippen needed a different look. In 1996, he won 6th Man of the Year. He also became part of 3 straight Bulls championships. The twist is simple. Kukoc was not the star of the dynasty. He was the weird extra layer that made it even harder to solve. Pick 29 became a Hall of Famer inside basketball's loudest machine. Kyle Korver did not look like a player who would bend NBA defenses. He looked like a specialist, a shooter, maybe a useful bench piece. Then he turned one skill into a career-long problem. Philadelphia took him 51st in 2003, and Korver spent the next 17 years making defenses panic before he even touched the ball. That was his real weapon, not just the shot, the threat of the shot. He made over 2,400 threes, led the league in three-point percentage multiple times, and once shot 53.6% from deep for an entire season. That sounds fake, but teams felt it every night. One step too far away and the possession was dead. In Atlanta, his spacing helped power a 60-win team. In Cleveland, he became another weapon beside LeBron James. Pick 51 did not become a franchise star. He became a preview of where the whole league was going, faster than anyone expected. The second round is supposed to be where teams gamble. Most picks disappear, but every once in a while the league misses badly, and the player everyone ignored becomes the reason history has to be rewritten.